Welcome to the Subjective Professor podcast, where we reject coercion and hypocrisy. This is episode 240, and this is the day after Election Day in 2024, November 6th. Trump has won. This is going to be, I think, going to be a shorter episode. It's been kind of a long day. Uh, I woke up this morning and I was looking on Facebook to try to figure out who won the election, and then I didn't see anything there, and I was like, oh, I guess it's going to take a couple days before people figure out who won the election. And then I went on to X, and the first meme I saw was a picture of Abraham Lincoln, and he and the caption is I haven't seen Democrats this mad since Republicans freed their slaves, which I thought was hilarious. And I thought, oh, okay, I guess that means Trump won. So what happened? I was kind of surprised, honestly, because I don't know if you saw that graph that Zero Hedge put up, but they looked at the voter totals from the last four elections, including the one we just had, and basically um, the totals are kind of odd, right? So in the 2020 election, there were 20 million more votes than in any of the other three elections for the Democrats, right? So it's kind of weird, right? So there was slightly more votes over the elections 2012, 2016 to 2024. But in 2020, there's 20 million more votes for Democrats, which is kind of odd. Um, and so, what happened? So I thought there was going to be the same kind of voting totals for Harris this time around, and which would mean that there's no way that Trump would win. So, what happened? Maybe it was Peanut the squirrel that pushed it over the edge. Maybe it was the harassment of the Amish over raw milk. I know that Pennsylvania had 200,000 more Amish voter registrations, and Pennsylvania went to Trump by about 200,000 votes. And so maybe it was the Amish. I don't know. Was it Obama insulting black men, saying that they need to vote for someone pretending to be a black woman? Was it Harris blackfacing her entire campaign, in spite of the fact, I think it was Candace Owens, I think that's her name, um, doing all that research into her family and showing how she doesn't have any African American blood in her. Was it that? Was it the continued support of genocide in Israel, like not doing anything to impede it, slow it down, stop it? Was it hiring all the cheering crowds and busing them to every venue that she would speak, where she would speak? Was that pushed it over the edge? Was it Beyonce not singing after promising that she was going to perform for them or implying it anyway? Whatever the reason, I mean, there are many, many different reasons. I think also Trump taking advantage of the new alternate media space, going on all those podcasts, having long form interviews, showing how he is not the guy that, the left is trying to portray him as. I'm not saying he's perfect, but it just illustrates that he's not a Nazi, right? So maybe that was part of it. I don't know. Whatever the case, he won the election, right? And it convincingly so. I mean, the Democrats were able to anger the rest of America so much that they came out and voted for Donald Trump. It was kind of interesting. Today I the principal of the school. It's a conservative, very, very small Christian school, and there are a lot of students from the city. And I think she just did not want the headache of having political discussions, and so I think she asked everyone not to engage in political discussions. But of course, I my policy is if you are old enough to ask the question, you're old enough to hear the answer. And because I am anarcho-capitalist, I think I would offer them a pretty good explanation of what happened. And a lot of the kids are from the city, right? They're urban students, and the school is located in the suburbs. And so a lot of them said, "Am I going to get deported to Africa?" And I was looking at them like, "What? That doesn't even, you guys are citizens. Like, what are you talking about?" And they're like, "Oh, everyone keeps saying that Trump is elected, he's going to deport us to Africa." And I said, "No." And I explained to them how a lot of countries have emptied out their prisons and sent them over here to America, right? So those kinds of people are going to be sent back. And unless you are a murderer or a rapist or a pedo, then you probably have nothing to worry about. And they were like, "Oh, okay, well, all right." And so it was those kinds of things where I had to try to explain to everyone uh, the media spin, which I've been sort of trying to stay away from for the last couple months now of school. Every once in a while, I can't help myself and I'll say something, but otherwise, I just try to, just try to make the argument for a smaller government. I even explained the garbage incident, right? Puerto Rico being floating garbage versus Trump putting on that reflective vest and then driving a garbage truck. There were still a bunch of students who did not know what the real story was behind that. It was just kind of really interesting. So they all heard the media spin, but they didn't hear the actual explanation. So it was a great opportunity to encourage them. I mean, these are middle school kids, right? Sixth graders. And I would give them simple explanations, and they were like, "Oh, right, sure, of course." And then I would encourage all of them that whenever and because, this is part of a wider life lesson, right? You hear a rumor, you hear a story, go to the source, get the primary information, hear their side of the story. And these days it's, find the original video and see what it actually said. Don't just go by all this sensationalism. And I mean they understood it. I don't know. I'm hoping they don't go home and just say, "Oh, you know what? We talked about at school," and then I get a call tomorrow. Hopefully that's not, it hasn't happened so far. So hopefully it won't happen as we move forward. Right. Anyway, but don't mess it up, right? Yes, he still has to make it to the White House. I've heard that there are other strategies in place, Harris 25th Amendmenting Joe Biden, so then she becomes president and then starts writing all these president, what do you call them? Executive orders, Or maybe they'll use the insurrection thing to say that Trump can't hold office because he was part of an insurrection, even though all of that stuff is just uh, are hoaxes, made up accusations, twisting of the law, accusations that are way past the statute of limitations. I mean, so many of these accusations that were leveled against Trump were basically either fabricated or broke laws in order to bring them to trial. So any person who really understands what's going on knows that he's not a felon. Okay. I mean, there are other people who have killed many, many people through wars, and they're able to hold office. And so, it's a nothing burger, really. However, if he does make it to the White House and he does become the 47th president of the United States, then he promised to set free Ross Ulbricht, right, who was put into prison and has been languishing in prison ever since he was basically the object of let's make an example of the person who started the Silk Road, right? And they accused him of all these horrible crimes. And so he might be set free. That would be incredible. And this is part of the LP strategy, the Libertarian Party strategy. Angela McArdle, who's taking a lot of heat from the leftist wing, left libertarian wing of the Libertarian Party, of being a cop out, a selling out, and using the Libertarian Party to support a Republican candidate and not voting for Chase Oliver, the Libertarian candidate. But what they fail to understand is the strategy that she was trying to put into place. And it seems like the left wing of the Libertarian Party can't see that bigger picture, and they're just into their little club clique thing that's going on over there. But the bigger picture is, look, they're not going to be able to win an election on that level, but they can infiltrate the Libertarian Party. You had several figures within the Libertarian Party that lean libertarian, like Vivek Ramaswamy, then Elon Musk, all of a sudden discovering Milton Friedman and putting all these videos, all of that. Why not capitalize on it and insert the libertarian agenda? Julian Assange getting free, right, is a direct result of Donald Trump coming to speak at the Libertarian Party convention, right? Because he said, right, he mentioned it. And so Joe Biden, in order to steal his thunder, got Julian Assange free, right? And that is totally because of the Libertarian Party. And so to see this as sort of a cop out or a betrayal of the Libertarian Party, I think is just really it misses the point, right? And the Libertarian Party, as we can see, is just so dysfunctional. I talked to uh Mr. Heiss, uh and he was trying to get me to, well, it was very, obviously he was talking to many people, but why not register as a libertarian? And it's because of the dysfunctionality. And my local area here, libertarians are not running for office, and so I want to be able to participate in the Republican primaries. And so that's why, I was retaining my voter registration that way, because they're more politically aligned with me rather than Democratic candidates. So anyway, this is not a political advocacy thing. I'm just merely stating where I am personally. But so you see in this previous election, libertarians joining the so-called orange wave. And now we have the potential where Ron Paul's name is being thrown around by Elon Musk, where they're in conversation on X with each other, even about neocons, right? And so that takes me to the next part of don't mess it up, this golden opportunity that we have. So Mike Pompeo apparently opened up, I think the last election, what do you call it, rally before election day, and Pompeo was there. And of course, Ron Paul commented something about neocons, that neocon warmongers should not be empowered. And that's what Elon Musk replied to Ron Paul's caution about Pompeo and warmongers. And Musk agrees neocon warmongers should not be empowered. So clearly, you see a potential power struggle between the deep state, the corrupted deep state, and this new wave of people, right, like Elon Musk, who's willing to talk to people like Ron Paul. Yeah, this is awesome, right? Because everyone knows Elon Musk fired 80% of Twitter when he bought it, and he's promising to do something like that. Maybe not to that scale, but that would be awesome. And then to talk about Ron Paul, who was the man that talked about cutting 5 agencies on the first day of office if he became president back in 2012. I mean, that is not something to sniff at, right? And considering that he ran for the Libertarian Party, nomination in 1988, there's a lot of history there, right? And so doing it this way, hey, why not give it a try? And then we're already seeing that Thomas Massie, Republican, but very libertarian leaning, constitutional leaning, being on the short list for Secretary of the Department of Agriculture, right? Which is the very reason why the Amish came out to vote in the tens of thousands, right? Because they are being leaned on by the state, right? Raw milk and as well as other things, I'm sure. The federal government is closing in on Amish people who just want to be left alone, right? And I remember like 10 years ago or something like that, an Amish farmer, because he refused to put a certain kind of label that the FDA wanted him to put on there. He wasn't going to do it. It's just a home remedy. He didn't put a label, and he got 36 years in prison for that. Right? Murderers don't get that much, but for failing to put a label on a home remedy that he sells out of a store, he got 36 years. That is just insane. And so it's about time that, the Amish really brought their votes and were able to be heard. And so wouldn't it be awesome if Thomas Massie became Department of Agriculture head, and he could truly start, you know, unwinding a lot of this absurdity that's happening over there. And then think about all the other appointments that Trump could make, CIA, NSA. I can think of at least some names that I hear on Judge Napolitano's Judging Freedom podcast, right? Former NSA, former CIA people who have been heavily critical of the current leadership of those organizations. Now, wouldn't it be awesome if they were able to somehow take the reins and change the course of these obviously, you know, lost uh, departments, maybe even Judge Napolitano to become one of the Supreme Court justices, because I guess apparently some of them are set to retire soon. So why not replace them with freedom-loving constitutional judges? Can you imagine Colonel McGregor being in some kind of major military role? Right? He was in the last 2 weeks of the Trump administration, he was coming up with plans for the withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan. So what if he was put in a very prominent, like Anthony Blinken's place, or that Austin, Austin's place, yeah, I mean, all of this insanity would stop when it comes to foreign policy and war. Trump, I just before I started recording, I saw that Putin had basically posted something positive about the Trump administration, that he's looking forward to the cessation of hostilities in Ukraine. I saw Yemen had basically said that they would cease bombing, right, Israel, because Trump is now president, and so they're looking ahead to peace in that area. I mean, this is exciting. I don't care, I again, I have my reservations of Trump the man, but as I'm going to say in my I have some things to say in my wrap up, my conclusion for this episode. Oh my goodness. And it's not as short as I thought it would be. So again, it's about moving the needle, right? Having people in the right place, whether Supreme Court justices or cabinet positions, right? So that when things start to go sideways, because when you start unwinding all of the leverage that is in the stock market, that's in the commodities market, right? When you start to unwind all of that, you're going to have crashes. And when that happens, you want people to understand clearly that it's the corrupt rich that are being most punished. Yeah, a lot of other people I'm going to hurt a lot, okay, because all the careful saving that I did was under the government propaganda. And so all of my savings, all my family savings are all in the wrong places. And so, yeah, I'm going to take a significant hit, right? And this is stuff that, not having family vacations, cutting each other's hair so that we could have something for my children, all that's flushed down the toilet. I get it, but this is what we need to do because we've been lied to for so long. And to continue in the lie is not going to be a solution. So I'm willing to take the hit as long as moving forward, we will have 1,000% more freedom to be able to make a recovery. And in a free society, you can recover, make up for the losses. You won't get them all back, but you'll be able to, at least your children too, will be able to have a better life. And that's what I'm thinking about, the bigger picture, right? And so again, bigger picture, we're talking about hope, right? We're looking beyond the immediate now, right? It's not live in the moment anymore. It's looking ahead to the future, right? How can things be, right? And a friend of mine on Facebook, he was like, he's so afraid that Trump will betray some of the people that he's appointing, right? So Musk, that he'll betray Elon Musk, that he'll betray Thomas Massey, right? And that he's afraid that that will happen. But then I replied, but yeah, I'm afraid of that too, right? Because I remember Trump of 2016, kind of appointing all the wrong people, being stabbed in the back. Is he going to be that dumb? Is he still going to be that naive? Or having gone through what he has gone through for the last at least 6 years of people dragging him through the mud, weaponizing the courts, coming after him with the most craziest accusations and trying to put him away for a very long time, trying to bankrupt him, trying to take everything uh, that he ever worked for, rightly or wrongly, corrupt or not corrupt, whatever, but just totally take everything from him, ruin his life, right? He's been shot at, he's been, maligned, slandered, his privacy has been invaded. I mean, think about it, all the things that, I haven't followed closely, but even I know that his privacy, Mar-a-Lago, right, his was invaded. His wife's privacy was invaded. Come on, all of this stuff. And then, especially being shot at, can you go through all that and not change? And so my hope of hope is that, yeah, he's in martyr mode, right? Which is like God mode when it comes to politics, right? He doesn't care anymore, right? Because he's on a mission. He wants to leave a legacy. He wants to, uh, like, he really does love America. And so he wants the country to be back on track, you know, really seriously make America great again. And he talks a lot of stuff. I don't, it irks me every time he says certain things which are clearly wrong. But maybe, that's just the businessman negotiation part of Trump, which bothers a lot of people, right? Well, the jury is still out, but I dare to hope. I still dare to hope, right? And hopefully he won't be unalived between now and inauguration, that enough people see what he's about, what he's trying to do, and they'll seek to protect him so that he can actually do something like abolish the Department of Education or something like that. That would be awesome, right? Because this country really needs to turn around from being the country that starts all these wars and assassinates all these people all over the world to be and imprisoning innocent people to then becoming once again that standard of freedom, political freedom anyway, for all the other countries to emulate, to follow, and especially for everyone in the United States, whether you're leftist or right winger, conservative or liberal, religious freakazoid, for everyone to be able to live in the way that they so choose, but yet at the same time being responsible for all of the choices. In other words, paying for all of the choices that they make. I'm hoping for that. I'm daring to hope for it. And I will continue to hope for it until I can no longer, right? Hopefully, you guys also are enjoying the brief positive moment that we have because of a Trump win, and things only get better from here. I will talk to you guys next time.